Yeah, but said there's some frustration from Paul, to be honest with you. It started so well from, I think, the scored inside the first 4 minutes. No, the corner was, I think the wind caught it, and then I think if McCabe is saying she meant to, she's lying, I say. But look, like any player's going to claim it in the first Women's World Cup goal. It's just, I think it couldn't happen to a better person. McCabe's been the leader of this team for many, many years. I think she was captain at 21. I think she's 27 now, so she's been their captain and leader for so long. And I think she there was a player that deserved it was her. Took the lead. Had a few other chances as well, Paul. I think we played well in the first half, but it's the goal, and we mentioned it here last week. Myself and yourself mentioned it. You called it the championship minutes, just before halftime and after halftime. And it has been something that other coaches have highlighted with the Irish team. I think the Australian coach mentioned that Ireland sometimes either lose concentration or sometimes can hold on to the lead or concede before or after halftime, and it happened again. And I think even Vera Pauw said in an interview, which I thought was a bit. I watched it there. I think even on the television, they said it was a bit puzzling. What I think even Richard Sadler, it was RT, said. Vera Pauw said to her assistant, "I think the goal is coming," but I
Sorry,
feel
no,
like
I missed that. No, what's that about? I actually missed that. So what's
I,
your
I,
reference?
I saw an interview because I was on the I watched the highlights program last night,
Yeah,
and Vera Pauw said about Canada's first goal that she said the goal is coming. But when I heard it and they mentioned in the studio, like if you think the goal is coming, you gotta try and do something, to stop it. I feel as a coach, I think it's very honest from Vera Pauw, but you wouldn't hear many other coaches saying the goal is coming, like because sometimes they say, "Oh, it is unfortunate that we
yeah.
conceded" and
No,
stuff
I
like
suppose
that.
the only thing I'd say, and I'm not by no means am I comparing myself to Vera Power. I coached and managed at a very low level, the lowest level you could be at, would say. But still, I would have seen matches that my own team was playing, and even watching a game in the stand, and you could see your own team are under pressure, and you could see a goal is going to come or a score is going to come. But maybe at that stage, when you cross the white line, is it up to the players to be able to? I know Katie McCabe was criticising the Canadians in the second half for time wasted, but maybe Ireland should have
Yeah,
done that before half time, gone down injured, stop the game. Marino, if we go back to Marino, he was an expert at it. But
yeah.
ultimately, is it down to the players when you cross the white line to be able to spot that?
It is. It is. I suppose. And she mentioned there wasn't enough cover, but I feel maybe some people are interpreting that maybe she's putting it all into place. I don't think she's doing it. I think it's
Yeah,
more frustration, really, to be quite
yeah,
honest. But I just felt it was a bit. It was not a weird one to say, but it's just you don't really hear that much now. The goal is coming. Like automatically, people say, "Well, could you have done something about it?" Is the next question people ask you. But I
mm.
think just after halftime, we mentioned here as well uh, the Australian the penalty that we gave away. Another one that could have been avoided. I think there was a few loose passes in the movement, and I think they were saying that Becky Connolly, she didn't really know who was behind her. If you get me, that
Yeah,
her body, yeah, I think she didn't look over her shoulder. She has no idea that I think Leon is the name of the person,
yeah,
the Canadian goal scorer, the second goal. She doesn't really know who's behind her. Then Cape almost gets there, but split seconds. And like, I suppose in international football and tournament football, I suppose you deserve to be punished for mistakes you make like this because this is the highest level. You
yeah,
won't get away with that against the top teams. And unfortunately, Ireland were seeded at the bottom in this group. They were always going to get a hard group, but they got the hardest group that many people think they could have got. Australia and Canada, the hosts and the Olympic champions. Now, no, Canada, they were a bit of rag to come into the competition. They're having a bit of arguments with the associations and pitches and warm-up games and things aren't exactly right there, but they are still a very good side. I mentioned here last week that I couldn't see Canada scoring in 2 games in a row, and I was
yeah.
really hoping Ireland could get one at least. But you know, there is this frustration with Ireland that we can see we're very good defensively, but we need to step up a little bit in the goal scoring charts because if it's not McCabe or Quinn getting the goals from the corner kicks or free kicks, with a few headers like that is a concern. Whereas McCabe's a left wing back, and not Lucy Quinn, but Louise Quinn, sorry, is the centre back. That's where there are top scorers in this team as far as I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So we could defend very well, but we need to step it up now in terms of attack because when we go behind, we look like scored at least one goal, maybe not two, and sadly that's what happened. We didn't really create enough chances in the second half to
no, if we go back to the start, again, we go through them. The first goal, it was a brilliant corner. Now, people say the wind, look, the conditions are conditions, will say, but it was a perfect corner. I've seen players in the Premiership in England getting on huge salaries. They get corners or free kicks out on that side of the
first man,
and they can't beat the first defender. So first of all, she played a perfect corner. She asked the question of the goalkeeper. Now the goalie was slightly off her line. She got caught out, but she asked the question. And in fairness, against Australia in the first game, near the end of the game, she had a good corner as well. So that takes practice, that takes skill. So you have to compliment that. But I have to agree with you. In the 15, 20 minutes later, Canada seemed to be all over the shop. That was the time, if we were good enough, as the old saying goes, to put the knife in to get the second goal. But unfortunately, we don't, as you mentioned, we don't have enough quality across the pitch to really punish them. But that's just reality. When you're up against a higher standard, we're lacking the quality across the pitch. That's not a criticism. That's just a reality. But I think if we got the second goal, I have a funny feeling Canada would have been a real downer in Canada. We were just not good enough to get it.
Yeah, that's the sad thing, Paul. And it's just the goals. When you mentioned, we mentioned before and after half time.
Yeah.
I mean, there was only 30 seconds left in the added time of the first half. I think it was 5 minutes. And I think it was 4 minutes, 30 seconds. The ball went in, and it's a sort of like the Canadians might see our goal as a bit of a jammy goal, but the ball was put in. I think Megan Connolly gets just a tiny flick to it, and it just rolls into the back. Obviously. And hits the post, and obviously goes in towards the net and not out. Unfortunately, it's just the way things went, like, you know.
Yeah, but of course, no. They always say in soccer, you get the ball into the danger zone, and you never know what can happen. You know. So, in fairness to the Canadians, they put it in. But I have to say, with you, in the 5th minute of injury time, I was very concerned with this late injury time. I was watching online. I couldn't watch the game live, but I was just watching the tracker. Would said, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I said, Canada are going to get a score here. Next thing the goal comes up, So again, right before half time, maybe players are getting tired. Then I presume there's some clock in the stadium. They're probably watching the clock, and they're maybe in their own mind, they're inside in the dressing room. And I had a funny feeling as well they were going to concede. That's concentration.
Yeah. I can understand too that people might say, oh, they're not used to this level of competition because it's their first time. But people have also made the point that, look, if you look at the back four, it was a back five really. I think it was been mentioned that there's over something like 400 caps or near 400 caps. I think Anya O'Gorman is over 100 caps. Louise Quinn, Niamh Fahey. I mean, they are experienced players, and Katie McCabe, of course, is an experienced player. I know she's a bit younger than those, but they've still played in big matches, in club level, international level. Now, obviously, with Ireland, the big matches would have been qualifiers. Maybe the game against Scotland and the game that got them into play, the Finland game at home. So they are I sort of find that they are used to pressure in terms of the last few minutes, and that's what you learn as a footballer growing up and playing club football and playing international football. Stay focused before halftime and stay focused after halftime. But we just can't seem to hit the nail on the head on that one. We just can't seem to not concede. This is the penalty against Australia was in the 51st minute, and the goal that Canada got was in the second half was in the 53rd minute or something like that. So, as you said, you mentioned, in fairness, they were like championship minutes. There are the times the teams sort of knock off before and after half time.
But in fairness, I'm sorry for cutting across you, and your analysis is 100% correct. But I've seen this happen in the Premiership. I've seen this happen in men's World Cup games. I've seen at top level the Champions League matches. They would say the top team, they seem to switch up. So it's not just because the Irish women came the first time in the World Cup. It seems to be certain players, whatever it is, they're either looking up at the clock, waiting for the half-time whistle, or just after half-time, they still haven't clocked up again, or tuned in again. So I've seen it across all codes and all levels as well.
Yeah, I suppose the only concern I would have, Paul, is that people have been mentioning this. Rival coaches have been mentioning it. And it seems to be something that other coaches and other teams have highlighted, and it's well known, unfortunately, with us. And if we go back to the friendly match against France, they were brilliant, the girls. They held the French, and to be fair, they were the better team in the first half.
Yeah.
But like you said yourself, lack of concentration, not enough. We gave away 2 goals in at a time in that French game, and the game was over.
Yeah.
And then it was just the French playing out timed in the second half. We couldn't really get near them, and they beat us 3-0. And to be fair, they could have beaten us by a lot more if they wanted, because they had all the ball. So it has been something that's been highlighted, unfortunately and sadly, by other coaches and other people in the media, and people ourselves. We've been talking about it as well. So it just seems sadly that this is something they could sniff blood out of coaches and other teams with us, and that's something we have to, try and get out of. I mean, Vera Pauw's been arrested as well. She's aware of it. She knows it. She's trying to put it right, but unfortunately, yesterday and against Australia and the game against France, the last 3 games that we've played against the friendly against France, sadly the Australia game away in Australia, the host game, and sadly now against Canada, we've all conceded goals either before or after halftime in that 10-minute spell you say, which is you phrased championship minutes.
Yeah, but of course, no, in fairness, and you're right, the 3 teams you mentioned are all ranked above Ireland, with that. So, and there's better teams across the panel with them in terms of overall strength. And that's what happens when you take a step up in quality. As you mentioned yourself, you won't get away with these things, you get cut out. So this is it's part of the learning curve. When you step up, it's going to be a huge learning curve for them. Do we have the quality to adjust to this? That when you step up, they're going to target every weakness. That's the difference.
Yeah. And I think the girls are aware of that. And I think this would be a huge learning experience. This is the first time a Women's World Cup has happened with Ireland in it, and I think they'd be better for it. Now, obviously, there'll be a few players. Sadly, in 4 years' time, they won't be there. This is their only opportunity they're going to get in the World Cup. But the young players like Abby Larkin, Katie McCabe's still a young player. She's like 26, 27. There's other players there that are going to move up. They're going to really cherish now and hopefully qualify for the Euros. Now, obviously, there's talk with Vera Pauw's contract. I think it's up after the World Cup is finished. So the World Cup is finished for them now, sadly, on Monday against Nigeria. There's talk whether the FAI and Vera can negotiate a contract. I think Vera Pauw wants to stay on. The FAI are, because I think what has happened is these allegations have brought a bit of baggage with Vera, unfortunately, that the allegations from America, it's been highlighted, and the FAI want to make sure, obviously, that all players have been treated fairly by Vera and all that stuff, whether they're doing internal investigation or not, that's up to them. But I think that's whether they think Vera's the right person to carry them on, because Vera has been the right person, and to be fair, we weren't winning. I won't say there's a word I won't say, and with a roar of getting to World Cup until
a donkey's roar. No, I'll be polite. A donkey's roar.
Yeah. I'll try and be polite this time around. But she has brought on this team numerous. They could have and should have probably got playoff for the Euros. Yeah. Unfortunately, the Ukraine result lost 1-0, and then she's got to play for the World Cup and qualified us. Yeah. Now, she's been able to get us to World Cup. Now it's trying to get into the Euros and improve, and against better teams, we're going to have to find ways to score more goals, because in 2 games we've scored 1. So we need to, against the top teams, we can defend, but we need to be able to attack when we go behind. When we go behind, it's like panic stations. We're nearly throwing everybody on. Yeah. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get that equaliser. Yeah. We couldn't get Australia either.
Yeah. Now, when we went 2-1 down, then maybe around the 65th or 70th minute, the manager, she brought on a couple of substitutions. In your opinion, did the subs have much of an impact?
Yeah, sadly not. I think we seem to peter out in the second half, even with all the substitutions we made. Amber Barrett didn't really have a chance in the game. Then when she came on, we were crying out for her. But unfortunately, the way we're set up, probably people say didn't play to Amber Barrett's strengths. Look, you can't say she didn't try. She tried to make subs. She tried to get players with fresh legs onto the pitch. But other than Katie McCabe's great run where she cut inside and she hit a great shot, I think it hit off one of the Canadian players' legs, and the keeper didn't save it on it, but it was a good chance. Other than that, we didn't really create anything. Lily Egg had a long range shot. Unfortunately, she really catch hold of it. There was no real power in it, and maybe a few other half chances with a few crosses. But sadly, Paul, we looked at a much better team in the first half, and of course, Canada, when you think of it, really had the better chances. Canada really had the better chances in the second half, and could and should have won by more. So, look, they tried their hearts out. They gave everything they had, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. And at this level, unfortunately, pride and passion can only get you so far. You need you need that quality in the box, and unfortunately Canada had it in the second half. Took that one chance, big chance they had, and a few other chances too that maybe should have scored. But
Yeah.
I think
So
Cordy Byrne made it great.